is infectious. You catch it like the flu. When someone smiled at me today, I started smiling too. I walked around the corner and someone saw me grin. When he smiled, I realised I'd passed it on to him. I thought about the smile and realised its worth. A single smile like mine could travel round the earth. So if you feel a smile begin, don't leave it undetected. Start an epidemic and let's get the world infected.
I feel myself begin to drift like a twig in the stream. I mustn't go to sleep. So instead, I lift from the bed high into the sky. Flying is magical. All the clouds disappear unless I need one to lie on, and if the moon is thin, the stars give me plenty of their light. Is flying magical enough for me to find clues? I turn my back on the sea and the town and soar up to Bryn Coch. I hear the cottage sigh in its sleep when I fly above it. A nightlight is burning in Anhad and Catherine's bedroom, but all the other windows are dark. The geese are shuffling around in their shed, and Mott is whimpering as he sleeps in his kennel. I float down slowly towards the reservoir. From here, the fields and paths, the reservoir and the baptism pool below it, the winding road, all look like a drawing on a page in an old map book, so that I want to lean down and write all their names on them. Instead, I search, up and down from the reservoir to Bryn Coch and back again, over and over. I can't find one single clue. What if and Evans's death wasn't murder?
"Make these stupid boots go away!" shouted Miss Bossy. "Only if you say the magic word," replied Wilfred. Miss Bossy thought and thought and thought again. "Please," she said. "That's better," smiled Wilfred. And he said the wizardry word again under his breath from page 304. These boots disappeared as if by magic. "Now then," said Wilfred, sternly wagging his finger, "stop being bossy or you will know what will happen." Miss Bossy nodded miserably. "Very well," said Wilfred, and went. And do you know something? From then until now, little Miss Bossy was a changed person, not bossy at all. And you know why, don't you? You know what she's afraid of? Bossy boots.
Puddington, who didn't think it at all funny, stood for a moment with one foot on the table and the other in Mr. Brown's tea. There were large patches of white cream all over his face, and on his left ear there was a lump of strawberry jam. "You wouldn't think," said Mrs. Brown, "that anyone could get into such a state with just one bun." Mr. Brown coughed. He had just caught the stern eye of a waitress on the other side of the counter. "Perhaps," he said, "we would better go. I'll see if I can find a taxi." He picked up Judy's belongings and hurried outside. Puddington stepped gingerly off the table and, with a last look at the sticky remains of his bun, climbed down onto the floor. Judy took one of his paws. "Come along, Puddington. We'll take you home and you can have a nice hot bath. Then you can tell me all about South America. I am sure you must have had lots of wonderful adventures." "I have," said Puddington earnestly. "Lots. Things are always happening to me. I'm that sort of bear." When they came out of the buffet, Mr. Brown had already found a taxi and he waved them across. The driver looked hard at Puddington and then at the inside of his nice clean taxi. "Bears is 6pence extra," he said gruffly. "Sticky Bears is 9pence. "He can't help being sticky, driver," said Mr. Brown. "He's just had a nasty accident." The driver hesitated. "All right, hop in. But mind none of it comes off on me interior. I only cleaned it out this morning."
Looking into the wardrobe, Lucy saw several coats hanging up. She immediately stepped into the wardrobe and got in among the coats, leaving the door open, of course, because she knew that it is very foolish to shut oneself into any wardrobe. Soon she went further in and found that there was a second row of coats hanging up behind the first one. It was almost quite dark in there, and she kept her arms stretched out in front of her so as not to bump her face into the back of the wardrobe. She was expecting to feel woodwork against the tips of her fingers, but she simply could not feel it. This must be a simply enormous wardrobe, thought Lucy, going still further in and pushing the soft folds of the coats aside to make room for her. Then she noticed that there was something crunching under her feet, but instead of feeling the hard, smooth wood of the floor of the wardrobe, she felt something soft and powdery and extremely cold. "This is very odd," she said, and went on a step or two further. Next moment she found that what was rubbing against her face and hands was no longer soft fur, but something hard and rough and even prickly. "Why, it's just like the branches of trees," exclaimed Lucy. And then she saw that there was a light ahead of her, not a few inches away where the back of the wardrobe ought to have been, but a long way off. Something cold and soft was falling on her. A moment later she found that she was standing in the middle of a wood at night time, with snow under her feet and snowflakes falling through the air.